It is time for the Oh Wow Moment, brought to you by the Gloria and Roger Jones Children's Center for Science and Technology. Good morning, Mr. Ralph. How are you?
Fantastic, Miss Madonna. How are you? How's everybody?
Magnificent.
Yeah.
And as always, we have stuff upon stuff upon stuff. But
Yeah.
one thing that I noticed, Crisco.
Yeah, we're going to use some Crisco today.
Okay,
Yeah.
what's going on, Mr.
So,
Ralph?
well, later on, we're going to do a little experiment. It's fun for the little ones. We're going to actually go ice fishing, and we're going to fish for some ice cubes. But
Okay.
before we get to that,
What's our concept?
well, you know, it's been super cold lately.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
you know, when you walk outside, you know, you have to cover up. And I thought maybe it's a good idea that we talk about, you know, some things like insulators. And when we go outside and we see, you know, salt on the roads,
Yes.
you know, there's always chemical reactions that are going on, and that's scientific, right?
Yes,
So
it is.
let's start by when you go outside, right?
Okay.
You go outside and your hands are cold, maybe you forgot your gloves. Yes. So they make these really cool packets. These are heating packets. I don't know if you've ever seen these before, but they're air activated. And they have these chemicals in them, and they're not toxic, and they're very harmless to your hands.
Oh, that's what football players use.
Yeah, right.
Okay,
So
yeah.
it's gonna actually activate now. We're gonna get it warming up, and you can put it in your hands. But what's inside there is the most interesting thing. So there's charcoal, there's iron powder in there, and the way that you get iron powder is sometimes. You know, the molten stream of iron, they spray it with water, and that might get some iron shavings in there. But is it getting warm?
No.
Yeah, listen, put that in your hands. It's getting warm.
Okay.
Okay, so there's water and salt, and the water and salt are activating it's a chemical in there and a mineral in there called vermiculite. Okay, and vermiculite comes from the Latin word vermiculus, which means worm, little worm. So those little worms in there, they're not real worms, but those little worms are kind of
I feel that.
expanding.
Okay.
And by the way, you know, like how would an Ohio worm get warm?
I don't know.
Well, it's going to go someplace very warm, like
I don't know.
Florida. Like
Florida!
it's going to go to a warm place. Yeah,
Okay.
that's a little joke there. Okay,
Okay,
so
I got
in
it.
any
Wait.
case,
Slow.
so in any case, right. So it also has iron in there. And I said iron, and iron is consumed by 2 million Americans every year. And you know how we get iron?
How?
Cereal.
Oh,
There's iron, fortified iron in cereal.
all right.
That's total, by the way.
Mm.
Now, so with that, we move out to our car and we look on the road, and there's this white substance, right?
Yes.
Sometimes we see it, it's in this form right here. Now that's rock salt, okay?
Okay.
Sometimes it's blue, and we can touch it and it's hard, but we definitely don't want to eat this.
Wait, I thought this was edible stuff. When you
No,
and John
no.
were-
This is not the edible
You know,
stuff.
I'm going to get you, John Hopper. I thought he said it was
No,
rock
no.
stuff.
So this actually, this is mined. We, you know, you have these huge machines that mine this salt, and these dark pieces are impurities in the salt. So that means you can't eat it, but it's put on the road to melt the ice. Okay.
Okay.
So we all know that the freezing point of water is 32 degrees Fahrenheit.
32.
We get lower than that, we start to get into freezing temperatures, and this stuff won't work on anything in the 0 to 1 to 2. So basically, you're just covering the road
With
the
salt.
salt. So we want to get it activated. We want to add water to it so that it actually can do its job.
Okay.
Now, with that, I have table salt, right?
Okay.
So we want to cover up, right? We want to cover up. I got this big vat of water right here, right? And I want you to stick your hand inside there. Tell me what you feel.
It is cold.
It's super cold. Yeah. Now I've had this it's been sitting. It's super, super cold.
Yeah, it's cold.
It's been sitting so long that if we were to go and fall in a lake, we would really, really be in big trouble.
Okay.
So what I've done here is I've made a blubber bag. Now, that's a funny word, and I said it last night to my kids, and that's all they did was say blubber,
Blubber
blah, blah, blah.
bag.
Yeah. Now,
I've got my own.
no. So the blubber that we're going to use comes from something we cook with.
What?
Crisco.
Crisco.
So literally, Crisco is fat, right?
Yes, sir.
So what we've done is we've made a fat pocket. Okay, now this is where we get that wow moment. You
Fat
can actually ask the
pockets.
kids, what animals contain fat, large amounts of fat?
whales.
Yes. In fact, that's what we associate the word blubber with whales.
the
a
whale.
blubber whale. Well, so that coating outside the whale is basically blubber.
Okay.
Okay. which we're going to simulate. And what I did was,
How'd you put your hand in there and you didn't get Crisco
there's
on
2
it?
bags. So what we did is we took, and if anybody wants to try this at home, it's a really neat experiment. You take 2 little plastic baggies, you put one inside the other. Okay, it's very simple. And then you line the outer bag with a little bit of Crisco. You just would stick, you know, you're cooking outside. Okay. Just like that. And then you can actually stick your hand inside the bag and it won't get anywhere.
Get the Crisco on you. Okay.
But I went ahead and I made a bag for us. I made a blubber bag.
Can
Now,
I put my hand in it?
absolutely. But what we're going to do is we're going to stick it in the water because whales are in super freezing water.
Yes, they are.
Right? Polar bears. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to hold it for you. And I want you to tell me how it feels now when it's in the water. Can you
I can't
feel
it at all.
No, because it's insulating your hand. That blubber is insulating your hand.
Mr. Ralph, you're one in a million.
Right, now.
As a minute 30, we're going to wrap this up.
Good. So let's transition to insulating now. We've been talking about robots and all this stuff. So wiring contains insulation. So it protects. So the wires are actually protected.
Yes.
So blubber protects the whales. The wires is protected by its